Ghosting is one of the most misunderstood experiences in modern dating because people treat it like a social problem, but your body experiences it like a survival problem. One day, there is contact, warmth, routine, a rhythm your nervous system recognizes, and then suddenly, there is nothing. No explanation, no repair, no clear ending. Just absence. And the reason it can feel so destabilizing is because ghosting does not only remove the person, it removes predictability. It removes orientation. It removes the ability to complete the story. So your brain does what it always does when it cannot complete an open loop. It tries to complete it internally. That is why you can feel like you cannot stop thinking, cannot stop checking, cannot stop replaying, cannot stop imagining what happened. It is not because you are dramatic. It is because your nervous system is trying to restore a sense of safety by restoring a sense of meaning. In this episode, I want to show you what ghosting really does to your brain, why it can feel like withdrawal, why it creates obsession even when you do not want it, how avoidant and anxious patterns amplify the damage, and what you can do that actually closes the loop without needing a message you will never receive. Because the truth is, most people do not need closure from the ghost. They need closure from the pattern that got installed inside them. The first thing to understand is that your brain is a prediction machine. When a person is consistent, your brain builds a stable model of them. That model lowers stress because it reduces uncertainty. You know what to expect. Your nervous system can relax. Even if the relationship is not perfect, predictability is soothing. But when someone disappears without explanation, your brain cannot update the model. It cannot file the event properly. There is no clean ending. There is no repair. There is no new stable reality. So your mind stays in prediction failure, and prediction failure is biologically expensive. It keeps your attention locked because your brain believes, if I can solve this, I can prevent it from happening again. That is why ghosting can create a loop that feels like obsession. The obsession is not only desire, it is cognitive labor. It is your nervous system trying to create safety by understanding. And because there is no external data coming in, your brain starts generating internal data. It starts replaying everything you said and everything they said. It starts scanning for the moment it changed. It starts reading old messages. It starts imagining alternate endings. It starts checking their social media. It starts looking for any signal that could reduce uncertainty. This is how ghosting turns into a habit loop in the brain. Trigger, absence. Response, checking and replay. Reward, a tiny hit of relief, even if you do not find anything. That relief reinforces the behavior. And over time, your brain learns that the way to regulate uncertainty is to search. Now let's talk about why ghosting can feel like withdrawal. When you bond with someone, your brain pairs them with regulation. Their presence becomes associated with relief, warmth, orientation, and calm. When they are gone suddenly, your brain experiences separation distress. And separation distress triggers the body. Tight chest, stomach pull, jaw tension, restlessness, intrusive thoughts, sleep disruption, appetite changes. It can look like anxiety, but it is a specific kind of anxiety. It is the anxiety of an interrupted bond. And the brain tries to regulate the loss of contact by creating contact internally. When the person is not available externally, your mind brings them back internally. This is why you can feel like you are talking to them in your head. This is why you can feel like you are still in the story, even when you are not speaking. It is nervous system math. And if the relationship had an avoidant and anxious dynamic, that math gets even more intense because the bond was already built on uncertainty. Hot and cold creates a variable reward schedule. The warm message after silence becomes a reward. The affectionate moment after withdrawal becomes a reward. Relief becomes the marker that says, "This matters." So ghosting does not just remove a person. It removes a reward schedule your brain got trained on. And when a reward schedule disappears, the brain increases searching behavior. It looks for the lost reward. That is why people can feel like they become a version of themselves they do not recognize after being ghosted. They become vigilant. They become fixated. They become impulsive. They want to text, call, show up, ask friends, stalk social media, do anything to restore contact. That is not you being pathetic. That is a trained nervous system trying to restore stability. Now, ghosting is also painful because it attacks identity. When someone disappears without explanation, your brain tries to make the story coherent, and the fastest coherent story the brain can create is self-blame. It must be me. I must have done something. I must not be enough. If I find the mistake, I can prevent it in the future. That is your brain trying to regain control. But self-blame is a false kind of control. It feels like certainty, but it is poison. It teaches your nervous system that love is something you earn by perfect performance, and that safety can be removed without warning. That belief creates chronic hypervigilance in future bonds. You monitor, you track, you scan, you read micro-shifts. You become unusually tuned to tone changes. You replay conversations. That is not random. That is your nervous system adapting to uncertainty. And the worst part is that ghosting can make you addicted to the person who hurt you. Not because they are special, but because your brain associates them with unresolved uncertainty. Your mind keeps returning to the strongest emotional material, and the strongest emotional material is often the unresolved bond. So the movie plays. Now let's make this extremely clear, because this is where people get stuck for months or years. Closure does not come from a message. Closure comes from a decision. If you are waiting for the ghost to explain, you are putting your nervous system in a waiting room. You are keeping the loop open, and the loop keeps you emotionally active while your life stays still. So, the first closure move is to stop using photographs to predict the future. Stop using moments to predict capacity. Use patterns. Patterns are the most honest form of information because patterns show what a person can sustain, not what they can feel in a moment. If someone can disappear without repair, that is a pattern of capacity. That is information. It hurts, but it is information. And when you accept the information, your brain can update the model. The model becomes, this person is not safe to bond with deeply without consistent behavior and repair. That update is what reduces scanning, because uncertainty drops when you stop negotiating with mystery. Now, this is also where we need to talk about the avoidance side without demonizing. Some avoidants ghost because conflict feels intolerable. Some ghost because shame is high and they do not know how to repair. Some ghost because they want control and they do not want consequences. Some ghost because they want to keep a door open without responsibility. Different reasons, same outcome. The outcome is that your nervous system was left in an unresolved state. Understanding the reason can create compassion, but compassion does not mean compliance. You can understand someone's nervous system and still decide you will not live inside their strategy. Kind without being easy. That is the line. Now, if you are anxious attachment, ghosting triggers a specific internal contract. The contract says, if I can just get them back, I will feel okay. If I can just get the answer, I will relax. If I can just be chosen again, the pain will stop. That contract is what keeps you chasing, but chasing does not create repair. Chasing creates more imbalance. It teaches your brain that anxiety is a command, and it teaches the other person that distance buys attention. So, what actually heals this is not becoming colder, it is becoming steadier. Steadiness means you stop acting at the peak. You delay action when activated. You stop checking behaviors that feed the loop. You set stimulus boundaries. You decide what you do not reread, what you do not check, what you do not scroll. You do not stop caring. You stop being trained. Now, let's talk about the 3 things your brain is actually seeking when it replays the ghost: clarity, control, and comfort. Clarity means you want an answer. Why did it change? What happened? Do they miss me? Are they coming back? Control means you want to find the move that restores stability. If I text like this, if I act calm, if I disappear, if I post, if I don't post. Comfort means you want to feel them again because the loss feels unbearable. Your mind uses replay to produce all 3. It tries to decode. It tries to strategize. It tries to soothe. So, what stops the movie is not telling yourself, stop thinking. What stops it is meeting these 3 needs in a healthier way. You meet clarity by replacing why with what. What did they do? What pattern repeated? What happened after closeness? What happened when I expressed a need? That is clarity. You meet control by making a decision about your next move that does not depend on them. Your next move might be no contact. It might be a boundary. It might be closing the door. It might be one clean message and then silence. But it is a decision. Decisions reduce ambiguity. Ambiguity fuels rumination. And you meet comfort by regulating your body directly, not through contact with the person. Movement, sleep, food, community, routine, sunlight, water, breath. A task that returns your attention to your life. Comfort has to be rebuilt as a baseline, not as a hit you get from a message. Now, there is another uncomfortable layer of ghosting that many people do not want to admit. Sometimes the movie continues because you do not trust your own boundary. Many people stay mentally tense because they sense the pattern is wrong, but they also sense they will keep tolerating it. So their nervous system stays on guard because it knows there is no protector inside the relationship. Boundaries are the protector. When you become someone who follows through, your body relaxes because it knows you will not abandon yourself. This is why sometimes the biggest relief is not when the person comes back, but when you finally decide what you will and won't participate in. The nervous system loves decisions. Decisions reduce ambiguity, and ambiguity is what keeps you scanning. So, if you want the ghosting loop to stop, you have to reduce ambiguity through standards. Standards do not require arguments. Standards require follow-through. Now, I want to give you a clean, practical framework you can use the next time your brain tries to pull you back into the loop. Step 1. Label what is happening. My brain is trying to complete an open loop. That is all. Step 2. Answer one grounding what question. What pattern repeated? What happened after closeness? What happened when I expressed a need? Step 3. Choose one stabilizing action that does not involve them. Not a coping behavior that keeps the loop alive. A stabilizing action that builds your baseline. A walk, a shower, a workout, a meal, a task, a message to a friend, a journal entry that ends with a decision, not a question. Step 4. Create a stimulus boundary for the next 24 hours. Decide what you will not check, because every new cue becomes another frame in the movie. You cannot stop replaying a movie while you keep watching trailers. That boundary is not punishment, it is protection. Now, let's talk about the biggest lie ghosting teaches, because this is how it ruins people long term. It teaches you that love is unstable, that calm is unsafe, and that your job is to earn consistency by performing perfectly. That lie will make you choose the same dynamic again. You will confuse relief with love. Here is how it works. The relationship creates tension through uncertainty. Then, the person returns with warmth. Your nervous system experiences a drop in alarm. That drop feels euphoric. Your body interprets the relief as intensity. Your mind interprets the intensity as special. And now, you are hooked. Not only on the person, but on the cycle of tension and relief. Calm can feel boring if your nervous system was trained to equate love with suspense. So, you keep choosing suspense and calling it chemistry. Ghosting is the extreme version of that suspense. It is suspense with no ending. So, the cure is to retrain your brain to associate love with steadiness. Steadiness looks like consistent effort, clear communication, repair after rupture, follow through, a rhythm that reduces tracking over time. If the more you invest, the less you can relax, that is not healing you. That is training you. And the test is simple. A healthy bond reduces nervous system activation over time. An unhealthy bond increases it. Now, here is the part that might sound too simple, but it is the most important. What ghosting really does to your brain is it makes you doubt your own reality. You start questioning your perception. You start questioning whether the connection was real. You start questioning whether you imagined it. That is why it is so destabilizing. It is not only losing them, it is losing your internal anchor. So your healing is rebuilding that anchor. Rebuilding it means trusting patterns, trusting your body's report, trusting the truth that someone who disappears without repair is showing you a capacity limit. It does not mean you are unlovable. It means that this person cannot sustain a secure bond without a different level of development. And that is not yours to fix through chasing. Your power is structure. Your power is standards. Your power is making the pattern stop working. Now, what if they come back? This is where people lose themselves again. If they return with behavior plus repair, that is a new contract. If they return with vagueness, that is the same contract. Vague returns are not closure. They are reactivation. And if you accept reactivation as love, you reopen the loop. So your rule is simple. You do not reward access without repair. You do not reward words without behavior. You do not reward a hello with full intimacy if the disappearance was never addressed. That is not cold. That is how you stop being trained. Now, I want to end by giving you the clean closure thought you can carry, because your audience needs a sentence that lands. Ghosting does not mean you were nothing. Ghosting means they could not face what they created. That can be true without making them evil and without making you small. And the closure is this. You do not need their explanation to stop bleeding. You need a decision that ends the reward schedule. You need stimulus boundaries that stop the movie from being fed. You need standards that turn your nervous system back into a safe home. The goal is not to forget them overnight. The goal is to stop being controlled by the loop. And when you change the reward schedule and you make a clean decision, your mind comes back. Slowly, quietly, your attention returns to your life. That is the real healing. Not that you never think of them again, but that you are no longer controlled by the silence they created. Welcome to PsychBond. You're safe here.